There is no shortage of articles and videos that would tell you the top stocks to buy right now. But what are the ones that you should actively avoid? What are the top companies that are losing investors money? Let's go ahead and break it down. So the way that I pulled together this list is what are the most popular stocks and sort them out to see which ones were the biggest losers. Did a little bit of analysis, and I'm going to tell you each one of the companies why they are terrible, and I have one theory as to why one of these companies is going to be changed forever. So you want to make sure that you stay tuned for that one. I'm going to start with Peloton. Peloton is not great, okay? It is down 55% in the last 6 months, down about 26% over the last year. This was a capsule company. But what I mean by capsule company is it was great in that capsule of about 2021. We're in the pandemic. People wanted to stay healthy, become healthy. Peloton was it. And then that phase was over. And you can go back and watch those videos. You can go back and listen to those podcasts where I talked about this exact thing. What is going to happen when the pandemic is over? They didn't know, okay? I didn't have an answer for it, therefore I didn't invest. They didn't have an answer for it. And to give you a picture of how crazy things were and are right now, if you go back to about 2021, about the summer or so, Peloton was about $150 a share. It is about $5 today. That is how bad things have gotten. They did do a partnership with Lululemon. I don't know why it took them that long to do that, but I'm not even sure if that is going to save the company. I really can't tell you what it is they need to do. I really don't know, but they need to do something or this company is not going to exist for that much longer. It is what it is, but that is not a company that I would be confident in investing. If I had a client that say, hey, look, I'm going to put $12,000 in a Peloton, I'm sorry, I'm gonna kick you out of my office. Can't be here, okay? I cannot be okay with somebody investing money in Peloton at this moment in time. Hopefully the company evolves. I don't think that's going to be the case. Next one here is Beyond Meat. This also feels a little bit like a capsule company. They're down 45% over the last 6 months, down about 37% over the last year. I say that because there was a moment in time, I would say maybe 2018, 2019, where going vegan and having these meatless products, it was the wave. That is where everybody was. And you can kind of see how these wave companies or these capsule companies kind of evolved. So it was, meatless stuff, vegan stuff, 2018, 2019. Then it was crypto stuff. Then it was, NFTs. And then after that, it was artificial intelligence, which is where we are now, okay? But for Beyond Meat, it's not what we thought it was. At one point, there was a, Burger King had like a meatless Whopper. Do they still have that? I haven't seen it on the window of Burger King. Now, I don't go inside of Burger King because it is what it is. But is that still a thing? Like, did they have a McDonald's meatless option? What happened to it? What happened to it? It was there and now it's not. It just felt like it was the newest, latest diet fad. It's not that anymore, and we don't know where that trend is. The company is obviously not doing well. It's not a company that I would say, hey, if you want to build wealth, invest in Beyond Meat. No, that's just not it. I'm sorry. Next one here is one that I'm sure you knew was going to be on the list, and that's GameStop. GameStop is down 35% in the last 6 months, down about 41% over the last year. It's not happening for GameStop. It hadn't happened for GameStop since 2021. There is a whole movie about it now. You should go check it out. But I've said what the issue for GameStop is. It is basically the next Blockbuster. It is just a matter of time. Why? They were the middleman between you and the product. Meaning, if you were buying, say you have a PlayStation or an Xbox, you would go to a GameStop or Walmart or Target, buy the video game, and trade it back and forth between GameStop. You want to pick up a new game, you go to GameStop. You want to trade in an old one, you go to GameStop. What's the problem now? You can just download this stuff digitally. I don't need a physical copy of that anymore. I can go directly to PlayStation and do nothing else. What do I need GameStop for? At some point, that is going to translate across the board. In fact, I want to say it was a lawsuit because there are devices, PlayStations, Xboxes now, where there is no physical drive to even put in a disc to begin with. That's a problem for a company like GameStop because what do they exist for but to buy, sell, and trade those physical games so it can go from me to you and vice versa. That's not going to be a thing anymore. And this is just the latest version of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One or whatever number they're on now. 5 years from now, when they come out with a new one, I don't think there's going to be an option to buy a physical copy of a game. it's only a matter of time for GameStop. Now, their way out of this is to become a video game publisher. They don't seem equipped to do that. By video game publisher, I mean they make games. They make Madden or 2K or what have you. That's not their bag. That is not their expertise, and it doesn't look like they're going to evolve into that space. Therefore, it's not a company that you want to sit here and continuously lose money for years on end just because, right? Just because you hope that it's going to be something. Hope is not a good investing strategy. It's not an investing strategy at all, but it damn sure ain't a good one, right? Next one on the list is Aurora Cannabis. That stock symbol is ACB, down 22% over last year, down 55%. I'm sorry, down 22% over the last 6 months, down 55% over last year. I get it. I understand why someone would feel compelled to buy Aurora Cannabis. In fact, ACB is probably, on paper, the company that has the most logic behind it. The reason why people were buying this company, especially a few years ago, was because they thought that cannabis will be legalized in the United States on the federal level. Now, I could go into an entire video on the differences between the federal laws and the state laws and all this kind of stuff, but basically, as you have probably seen, there are a lot more dispensaries depending on what state you're in than what they were 5 or 6 years ago. The thought was, as these states legalize it, this company will become more valuable. Perhaps something changes on the federal level and it would be a national thing. Therefore, this company would make people a whole lot of money. If you really think about it, this was the craze, I would say maybe 2016 to 2019 or so. It was the cannabis craze, then it was the Beyond Meat phase, then we got into the meme stocks, then we got into crypto, and now we got into AI. You can see it kind of jumps from thing to thing because before there was meme stocks, there was Aurora Cannabis, but I think this is the only one that actually made sense because there were states legalizing it. You did see more dispensaries across the board, and you could buy cannabis legally in places you couldn't do it before. It just hasn't happened on the federal level, and until that occurs, I don't think you're really going to see true traction. And I think that moment has passed. The thought was when the Biden administration first took over, those first 2 years, they were more lenient and more supportive of cannabis rules and loosening those. It didn't get passed. And I think the opportunity is gone now. I don't know what's going to happen in the next midterm or the next presidential election. And I'm not going to wait another 2 years to invest and continue losing money to figure that thing out. So if it didn't happen the first time around, I'm not entirely sure or confident that's going to happen on the next go round. At that point, again, you would have been losing money for more than 4 years at that point in time, or really more than 2 years. Next one here is AMC. Okay, let's all breathe because AMC is down 84%. I had to go back and double check the number. 84% loss for AMC in the last 6 months and 88% loss over the last year. AMC is not going to be what people thought it was going to be. And I don't know what y'all thought was going to happen for those who invest in AMC, but I want you to look at it like this. And here's where the bigger picture occurs. Back in the day, I say back in the day, this is really before the pandemic, you had to go to the movies to watch a movie before it appeared on Netflix or any of these streaming services, and most of which did not exist pre-pandemic. There was no Disney Plus, there was no Max. We did have Hulu, but it was really just a Netflix and almost nobody else. Peacock, Paramount Plus, all that stuff really didn't exist pre-pandemic. So nowadays, there are movies that are coming out now, and within 6 weeks, sometimes 2 weeks, it'll be right on Netflix. There is a segment of the population, whether it's 5%, 10%, or 50%, that are not going to go back into a theater at the rate that they did pre-pandemic. Because why do that when I can just wait a week, wait a few weeks, and watch whatever movie I can at the comfort of my home? I can pause it if I need to put the kids to sleep or whatever. I can just do that versus leaving my home and going to the theater. AMC is not, I would argue, AMC will never make the same amount of money that it did pre-pandemic just because of that. It doesn't matter if it's a 5% gap or 50% gap, you're not going to see that anymore. Here is what I'm most concerned about if I'm an AMC investor. The tide is going to change, and here's what that looks like. Right now, my kids have been to the theater one time in their entire life. Now, a 5-year-old and 3-year-old, they're relatively young, so they've had a whole bunch of opportunities. However, What is the incentive for them to do that? Now you might be thinking, why are you talking about a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old? The reason is because a lot of these new technologies, all of these streaming services that exist now that weren't there then, could change how things happen and how the culture moves from point A to point B. Case in point is Uber and Lyft. Kids now don't line up to get their driver's license in the way that they did when I was a kid, because now instead of going to get your license, having gas money, saving to buy your own car, why do all that BS when I can just get $20 to get from point A to point B for a kid? They don't use it in the exact same way anymore. There are kids that wait till 20, 22, 23, 24 to go get their license because they can Uber anywhere they need to go. They can get together and split that cost versus going and getting a driver's license, because that used to be the thing to do. It is not the thing to do anymore because you don't have to do it. So for kids who did not grow up going to a theater to see every movie and just waited until it came on Netflix, they might be fine, right? They may not ever go to the theater like I was used to going. I'm thinking of a movie like Encanto, where I can watch it hundreds of times in the comfort of my home, and my kids can just absorb it and do that, right? And be right in the trending topics and movies just like every other kid is, without ever going into a theater. Now, I'm not telling you that AMC is going to go absolutely bankrupt. I do think they need to evolve, but buying a gold mine in Nevada or wherever they did, it's not going to save the company. Trying to evolve it and do all these stock splits and all kind of stuff, that's not the focus of what the company should be. The company is terribly run. Like, if you are running a theater and buying all this type of stuff and trying to come up with your ape shares, come on, man. You doing all this stuff to distract from the fact that your business is dying. Okay, that is the fact. So no, AMC is one. All of these you should avoid, but AMC is probably the worst one that you absolutely avoid. However, these are things that you don't want to look at, in my view. Okay, these are things that are absolutely going to lose you money. What are the things that have a higher likelihood of making money? What are the stocks that you should consider? If that is your question, these are the videos for you to watch next.